Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're going to cover some crypto today because Bitcoin actually surpassed $30,000 for the first time in quite a while. And it came off of news of BlackRock applying for an ETF for Bitcoin. So what does that mean? Well, basically it means that instead of having to have hedge funds buy keys and actual coins for Bitcoin, they could actually have just this ETF in their fund. Now, BlackRock actually has applied for 576 total applications of ETFs over the course of their history, and they have been approved for 475 of them, with only one being denied. So what that means is that they have a really good track record and they know what they're doing, and they seem to only apply for things that they really have a strong case for and what they really believe can get approved. So we're going to take a look at the technicals and we're going to dive right into Bitcoin, and then we're going to do some analysis on how to play this as a trade. So let's get right into it. And now right away, the first thing that you can notice is that this market bias indicator right here, this HA market bias indicator that we like to use for overall trend and how to play the Ripster clouds, has actually been green since 19,290. Now, we did reach a low point of about 15.7, and then the market bias changed at about 19. So, and we're at 30 right now. Actually, to be exact, we're at 29,898. It did pass the 30 mark for just a little bit, and it just sort of went down a little bit. So you can see that this market bias indicator is a really good indicator of overall momentum. And so not only do we have the good news off of BlackRock, we also have these indicators that are actually showing a strong uptrend. Now, I'm actually, as far as the indicators are going, pretty bullish on Bitcoin. Just again, it's as far as the indicators and what they're telling us. You got to do your own due diligence and you have to track your trades accordingly and have a plan, right? So what I'm seeing right now, first of all, is a bounce off of this HA market bias indicator. Now, one of the things that we really can rely on for the most part is this acting as a support when it's green and acting as a resistance when it's red. So you can see here, it all acted the same. And we had, look at that, we had a bounce right before this amazing news came out, right? So it's one of a really good lesson that while news can get you something on the radar, oftentimes the technicals will lead and then the news will follow. And there's a whole lot of intricacies that go on in that. I mean, BlackRock has huge influence in many different areas, including media. And it is not a surprise necessarily that this news is coming out right as we have Bitcoin bounce off of a key level, okay? So if we just bring up this TSI as well, we are slightly under bought, although we're not crazy low, and we do have a blue cloud, so that is looking good. And we do have an uptick on the histogram right here, and we have not peaked in that. And it's just the beginning as well, too. I mean, these can run for quite a while, as you can see. So if we're backing this up and we're just zooming this out right now, and let's actually just zoom out a little bit more and go to the weekly. Let's see what the weekly is telling us. So the weekly is telling us on the histogram, we are just starting to see what looks like it could be a change in momentum. And ideally, you want to see that green histogram right there. And now we do have on the TSI, right here, which is like a breather before a continuation. At least that's what it's showing. So over time, as the TSI goes up, you'll see these little breathers and then a continuation. And if we're looking at Bitcoin right now, as far as, let's just get rid of the market bias for a second and let's pull up just the Ripster. We do not have 3 green clouds on the Ripster, which is ideally what you would want to have. And so on the weekly, it might be a little bit too early to get in, but there's nothing wrong with getting into something on the daily and then tracking it on the weekly as, you know, maybe just getting in a little bit earlier. So we can take a look at Ethereum and how other things are working out here. And you can see that it is no surprise that Ethereum is acting in a very similar way. And, you know, Ethereum can have a lot more volatility because it is smaller cap. So that could be something to play. Now, as far as the mining, this could potentially be a good idea to get into something like Mara, which is Marathon Holdings. And what's really interesting about this one, and I noticed this a couple days ago, and I almost brought it up on the channel, but I didn't, is that this has actually turned, this market bias indicator has actually turned green, and we have a very solid support at around 890. It almost looks like one of those SPACs where it just has that solid floor at around $10. And then a bounce. So this is actually looking pretty good. Now, it is important to note that the tech sector is overbought right now, and that the S&P 500 and just the indices overall is overbought. You can bring QQQ up, and we've had a couple of red days in the tech sector, you know, minus Tesla and a couple of things like that. So Bitcoin has followed the tech sector. It has followed the indices overall similarly, and it actually has just sort of broke out from that on news. So it's something to pay attention to. You know, the bearish case for this whole thing is that this is going to take a while. This isn't something that's, you know, next week the SEC is gonna approve it. You know, this is gonna get old news before it gets new news again, and the new news most likely is either gonna be an approval or a denial. So it's hard to also tell when it's gonna happen. It could happen a month from now, or a couple of months from now. It could happen almost a year from now. So this is probably a very short-term play. But if you think that it's going to get approved, it could be a very, very good speculative play, because if it is approved, my assumption would be that we would start to see some inflows in there rather quickly. So that's all I got for you today. Pay attention to Bitcoin. If you like this video, please just hit this the subscription button and the notification bell, and also just hit the like button. It's the easiest way to help out the channel. It helps tremendously. So until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks.